Melek, thank you so much for joining me here today on The Ripple Effect with Ray. I can't wait to dive into all things Harmony Lab, your experience, and what it all is. So I would say, yeah, if you want to start us off, thank you for being here. Tell me a little bit more about Harmony Lab and how and why you got started.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, so Harmony Lab is my company that I run where I do workshops for corporate teams and also communities around the world. So I do both, where I can help people get more in connection with themselves, a deeper connection with themselves and deeper connection with those around them, whether that's their team or other people in their community, and also to tap more into their authentic selves and with that be able to connect more deeply with the authentic self of others as well. So I've been running it for about a year and a half, but I've been hosting workshops for actually the last 10 years or so. I studied psychology and in undergrad and went to grad school for organizational behavior. So I've always been interested in how people think and why they do the things they do, especially in group settings and especially at work, which is a passion of mine because most of us go to work or have a business and spend a lot of our life at work with other people. And I think it's so important that we have the best possible experience going to work and being in a team and working with our employees or coworkers or bosses. So I went to research for a while and then I worked at companies like Facebook and also some startups and got really cool opportunities to lead workshops there. And at Facebook, I worked at people operations. So I was really involved with culture and employee engagement, which was just an amazing experience of just having so many resources to figure out what makes a great team and what makes employees really thrive. And yeah, I left Facebook a few years ago to kind of do my own thing, started traveling the world, meeting different types of people from around the world, having different experiences and finding all these different things that I wanted to build into my workshops and my programs. And I started hosting the same workshops for just groups of people around the world, just whoever wanted to come. I would post in these WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups and had so many people join. And yeah, so the last year and a half, I've started offering the same workshops to corporate teams, both online and also in person.
Amazing. Well, I think it's such a needed experience in this day and age of culture and what it actually means to feel connected to self, purpose, whatever that might look like, because I think so many times we can get caught up in the monotony of the day to day, wake up, go to work, rinse, repeat, right? And so tell me a little bit more about, what people can expect to see coming out of your workshop.
That is a great question. So I think I find it hard still to describe my workshops because it's a very experiential experience. So it's something that you kind of have to be in that position in the workshop to experience. It's kind of like meditation or breath work. It's really hard to explain like the benefits of that. But what my workshops look like is essentially games. So I call them games, but they're different exercises and practices or modalities, however you want to call it, where you interact with another person or the group of people in a way that you probably haven't interacted with anyone before. So, for example, it's kind of a structured exercise or structured engagement that allows you to get to know this other person on a deeper level, but also in just a very different way of just really seeing them for who they are. And in that experience, you can really allow others to see who you authentically are and to be able to discover, maybe for a lot of people, for the first time, who you authentically are, because we practice kind of shedding these layers and masks that we have been wearing for a long time because this is what society trains in us. It's not necessarily a bad thing that we have all these masks, but we have so many layers and masks on that we don't even realize we've been carrying for years and decades. And it's really nice to get the opportunity to kind of take that off, put it to the side, and interact with people from your truest, deepest self in a safe space where you know that you're not going to be judged and you can kind of experience what it's like to feel so free and be able to connect from this very deep human layer that we all have that we so often don't really have the space to connect from that level because we're busy and we have meetings and we are trained to kind of talk to people in different situations in a very specific way without realizing it. So yeah, it's a very enlightening experience for a lot of people just because it's a lot of my clients, especially my corporate clients, have honestly never even done meditation. At the beginning of my workshops, I ask, like, raise your hand if you've ever done meditation. And I get 10% of people raising their hands. So this is something that's kind of even further than meditation, obviously. So it's a very eye-opening and sometimes confronting experience, but it's always something really beautiful and profound. And people kind of learn so much about themselves and also how they can interact differently with people in the world.
Yeah, well, I love that explanation too, because I think so many times when people or companies, employees like hear the word team building, they're like, oh, they kind of, I think, are met with a little bit of hesitation, apprehension, like, are we doing this ropes course or whatever, like just pay me instead. And so, I feel like, do you ever find or you're met with some like either apprehension, tension when you come into some of these settings? How do you kind of navigate that?
That's such a great question and great points. There is definitely a ton of resistance, a ton of hesitation. And I was expecting some when I first started working with corporate teams, but there is definitely a lot. And even when obviously the decision makers bring me in or the HR leader brings me in and they have this kind of open mindset, that doesn't mean the team will or the employees will. And I am very big with energy, so I sense energy a lot and I can sense the resistance. I can sense all the walls that people put up. I've even had people say to me verbally, like, just so you know, I don't want to be here. I'm being forced to be here. And I always say, first of all, everything is optional. Like, if you're uncomfortable, you don't have to do anything. And I've actually almost never had someone not do an exercise. Just everyone's, at least willing to try, which is really cool. And I'm really grateful for that. But I've had so many cases of people being resistant in the beginning, which I actually now love. I love when there's resistance in the beginning because that means there's so much more to work with there. And then there's this transformation, and my workshops are usually 2 to 3 hours. So at the end of the 2 or 3 hours, you can just feel the shift in energy in the room. And I've had so many people say to me, or in the group feedback session, at the end, I'll ask everyone, like, how was your experience? And we all kind of share together. And so many people will say, like, I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to come today. I was very closed off at the beginning, but now I feel so open. I feel connected. Like, I had no idea this was going to be the experience. And they're always like, when can we do this again? Which is really cool. So it's one of those things that you just kind of have to believe in and just trust the process. And I really think that the people who need it most and the ones who get the most out of my workshops are the ones who least want to be there. And the ones who want to be there and know what's going to happen, they're kind of doing the work anyway. They're kind of working on their healing process or self-improvement anyway. So they know what to expect and they know that it's going to be a great experience. But the ones that have the resistance are honestly like some of my favorite to work with. And I feel like I know how to kind of handle that as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's so funny and fun because I think, yeah, the people that have the greatest like walls or barriers, you're almost like, all right, challenge accepted, you know? But what would you say as far as whether it's been in your business, in a company, in a workshop, what's been one of your biggest challenges or frustrations versus what works really well for you?
It's an interesting question. I think one of the things that I kind of struggle with is a lot of the companies that come to me self-define their workplace or their teams as toxic, and they come to me because it's they feel that it's toxic. And I think that this is kind of a story that people tell about their teams or their coworkers, that this environment is kind of toxic instead of actually looking within and looking at themselves, especially as leaders. I think that's a hard part for me because even if they have like a great experience in the workshop, they'll kind of go back to, oh, but we have a toxic work environment and how can we fix that? And it's kind of this thing that is so much deeper where you have to kind of go within. And the practices that we do during the workshop, it's something that ultimately people have to keep doing every day and like infuse that into their interactions with themselves and with others in order to kind of let go of toxicity. But this whole toxic thing, I think, is not really, it's a story that we tell ourselves and as a collective. And once we realize that these are just individuals and these are just people and humans who have their own story and who have their own need to belong and need to be understood. And sometimes it results in us kind of acting out, or this concept of being toxic makes us misunderstand each other because we just have this excuse that, oh, that's just how the environment is. So that's been kind of frustrating because it's kind of trying to re-educate people which is also a fun challenge in itself. But sometimes people kind of hold on to the story of what they want to believe is true. So that part is difficult. And then I think the other part, you asked what's going well. Is that what you asked? Yeah, I think so many things to say about that. I think why I really do this job is to help people feel the way that I've learned to feel throughout the experiences that I've had in my life that have led me to help people in these workshops. So watching the transformation, watching the energy transform and like feeling that shift in people and that look in their eyes when they finally like get it, when they get to this place of like authenticity, and it's kind of like a bliss feeling that I felt so many times from having these experiences. But I just know that that moment for a lot of people can be life-changing. And it's like sometimes overwhelming that I get to do this and get to show this part of life to people. So I would say just those little moments where I get that and I get to see that connection, it just fills me with so much energy and gratitude and warmth. And yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like it's amazing that I get to be paid to do this, that I get to pour this into people's lives and watch it happen, and that this is my job and this is my reality. So yeah, I'd say that.
Amazing. Well, I think that's such a beautiful reflection of, walking the path, right? Like you've kind of been on the other side of it, and now you're there to kind of help facilitate these open and honest conversations with people. And I mean, just kind of being in your own presence, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's this like calming energy that you bring even across the screen. And what do you hope for the next 6 months, 12 months, couple of years from now? What do you hope to see, whether it be again in your company and or in the places that you are able to facilitate these workshops?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have a lot of hopes and dreams with Harmony Lab, and one of them, and this is something I always say to my clients as well, is that I am only like a temporary solution in the long run. I would love to train more leaders to do what I do, to have the presence that I have, and just bring this into like every meeting. There's no reason that we can't engage authentically and from a deep place of connection in more of our just workplace settings. It doesn't have to be this, once a quarter team building exercise. It's actually just a moment of interaction between humans, and it's just a way of being, really. So I would love to scale in general and just be able to have more people experience belonging and psychological safety and feeling like they can trust the people that they're around more and more. And I think that is what allows us to thrive, because we're social creatures and we need connection, but we need quality and deep connection where we can trust the people in the environment that we're in. So I would really like to kind of, I don't know, create a program for leaders or something like this where they can literally just do the workshops that I'm doing, so it can just kind of expand more. So that's a big thing. I also want to start involving some like a tech, like a software platform where I do a lot of diagnostics for teams. So I would love to have some kind of AI software thing where it can kind of determine the needs of that team, for example, based on their conversations, based on how their meetings and performance is going, and then kind of automatically suggest some little micro moments or different exercises that they can do. So it's also something that is just kind of embedded in the culture long term, instead of just, again, like these little flash moments of connection.
Right. Well, exactly. How do you integrate, right? How do you actually not just, it's almost like have a vacation with Harmony Lab for a moment and then like back to whatever was happening prior to your arrival, right? How do you actually implement something that is long lasting and a culture that actually thrives rather than dreads work every single day? But yeah, I love what you shared about too, like just the future goals, the future dreams, because I think, yeah, having these experiences where you actually feel heard, the feeling of connectedness, these are all, I feel like, innate human traits that we crave from just a biological standpoint, right? And so, what would you say to somebody that maybe is listening here? What are some even like micro changes or micro things that they can implement to? I mean, we talked kind of meditation, but anything that you would like to share that might help somebody here today?
Yeah, so something that someone can even just do on their own. I think one of the most important parts of connecting with your authentic self is to actually just tune in and listen, meaning you can like close your eyes, keep your eyes open, whatever, but just take a moment and just really listen to what is going on within your body, for example, what you're hearing, what you're sensing around you, what your thoughts are doing, what your emotions are doing, and actually naming it and being like, oh, I feel sad, or I feel very stressed out, or I'm thinking all these thoughts, and just kind of observing what is going on within you and any sensations in your body, and just like practicing allowing and welcoming and just accepting what is there, because so often we are resisting what is actually there, what is actually us in this moment. Because everything is temporary. Whatever you're feeling in that moment, it will go away. So it's okay to experience it for a bit. But I think we're so disconnected from ourselves because we're taught to distract and we're taught to just keep busy and move on and just ignore what we're feeling. And we forget how to listen to our intuition, for example. We forget how to listen to our body and all the messages that it sends us. And because we don't know how to listen to ourselves, how can we listen to another? Like, how can we really truly hear another person until we can hear ourselves? So I would say, just even when you're meditating or just, sitting down, just try to really listen to yourself and see what's going on within you, because the more you can do that for yourself, the more you're going to be able to truly hear someone and feel their emotions and maybe their experience that they're having when they're talking to you, instead of just listening to respond, which is what most of us are doing in this busy world.
Exactly. Well, I think that's such a powerful statement, powerful share because yeah, so many times I think in a conversation, you might be thinking about, oh, what am I going to say next? Right? Rather than taking in what the other person is actually trying to say or share, right? Like, oh, where can I insert something about me next? Something like that. So it's really important to, I think, reflect, take a moment to be aware of what's present for you in your body. And so I love that. I love that you kind of just brought that to our attention and our awareness. Where and how can people find you? How can people work with you, get in touch?
Yeah, for sure. I am pretty active on LinkedIn. So it's just my name, Melek Mourad, and I think I'm the only Melek Mourad out there. So it'll be easy to find. I also have a website. It's harmonylabworkshops.com. And then also maybe we can add like my personal Instagram. It's just I do talk about this stuff, but it's not so businessy. It's more of my personal life and the things that I kind of experience. And that's just typical Melek. So again, the only one out there. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'll include all of those links in the show notes, and I very much look forward to hearing what our listeners have to say about today's show. Thanks so much for joining me here today on The Ripple Effect with Ray.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.